Hey, what's up guys? It's been a while since I've done anything on the Elantra. As you can see, my tire's off. I bought all new suspension and brakes for front and back and brake lines and a couple other little things. I'm waiting for everything to come in. Not everything's come in. I was going to do all of it, everything, over the weekend on 3 days. Just get everything done, then take it in, get an alignment. Well, my caliper piston, I found out, is actually sticking because the other day I threw water. I noticed that was really hot. I threw water on it and it sizzled. So what's happening is my caliper piston is actually getting stuck, and it is. I'm basically driving around with my brakes on, and the only way to stop it from doing that is I had to take the caliper off, push the piston back in, but I'd have to do that every day for it to be okay, because by the time I go to work, come back, it's stuck again. So calipers came in. I wanted to wait until I got my pistons, or sorry, my my rotors and pads in, because that is warped. That rotor is warped, which is causing my car to shake, and because the brakes are on, that's what's causing my car to shake while I'm driving. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and just replace the calipers today and the brake line, because it's driving me crazy. Plus, earlier it felt like I was getting no power to my car, and it was just going up to like 5,000 RPM, under 20 miles an hour. And it's because I've got the brakes like all the way on, essentially. So anyway, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, well, I'll walk you through this. So the only tools I'm going to need, other than, you know, taking the tire off, is I need a 12, 14, and 17, an 11 wrench. I only have a stubby for some reason. Ratchet and a pair of pliers. The pliers are just to take this little clip off. You just grab it and just pull back. This takes an 11 to get that away from the brake. This is a 12. This is also a 12 to take this clip off of here. The 14 is for the slide pins right here, and then the bolts here, and there's one down there to actually get the caliper off, is a 17. So yeah, get to that. All right, so that clip just comes out, it just pulls out, and then you're gonna need something like a pair of pliers to grab onto this side, so that this doesn't spin. Take your 11, put it on there, pop that off, and then this just comes straight out of there. Normally, you would take it off from this side if you were changing out just calipers, but I'm also changing out this this brake line. So we're gonna go ahead and do the slide pins, take this off, and then this bracket's gonna come off with these two bolts here. All right, so we got that off, and yeah, see, that's where it was just setting, pressed up against there, whenever I threw that water on there, whenever it was sizzling. This rotor is warped. If you were just gonna replace these, this would literally just come right off, as long as it's not rusted too bad. I'm gonna get that figured out later. But anyway, yeah, that's all of that. I'm gonna leave these rotors on, and I'm gonna reuse the pads until the rotor and brake pads come in for the new ones. All right, so a couple sort of funny things. Both of these calipers that came in are actually set up for the left side, not the left and right, because this right here holds, sorry, whoop, whenever you're putting that on there, this right here sits in between here, and on the other caliper it's in the exact same spot. So they're both set up for the left side, but it'll be fine. They'll still work. Another funny thing, these are actually rear brake lines if you were to have discs. The only difference though is that the fronts have this spring and this clip, but I'm going to be able to take this clip off of here, crimp it onto that, or not crimp it, but lash it on there somehow. Same pretty much the same hookups, so it's gonna work. All right, so I pretty much got the new caliper set up. You just want to put some anti-seize on the mating surfaces. Like that was fine that it's on the outside of that, but do not get anti-seize on your brake pads themselves. Just go in there, slip in there. I actually had to, these are the new brackets in which these slide upon. They've got this little piece right here that actually interferes with my brake pads, so I had to take the old ones off of the old caliper and put them on these to make it work. All right, so you're just gonna put this up on here. You're gonna line up this bolt. You're gonna kind of have to wiggle it around. Do the top one first, it's easier. Then you thread it in a little bit. Do the same on the bottom, right there. Make sure these are snug as well. If you for some reason had to take them off like I did. We're gonna tighten this down a little bit. We got that tightened down and the clip is on there. This has to go through until you see this little ridge here, and then that just goes on. It's held in by pressure. I could not get that thing on there, so I'm probably just gonna zip tie this to this until I can get the actual right ones, because I think this little clip is like spot welded on here or something. I can't get it off, so I'm just gonna have to end up ordering the right ones. But you know, this is long enough and everything, and it's only gonna be temporary, so it'll be fine. But yeah, we're just gonna crank this down a little bit, or tighten it down, I mean, not crank it down. And then this one should be done, and then we'll just have to do the same thing on the other side. And I should have brakes that aren't working overtime. All right, so this is again where I gotta rob Peter to pay Paul. As you can tell, these brackets here have this piece sticking out, where these do not. Where are my brake pads? So, when putting these brake pads in, they set in there perfectly fine, and they go back and forth. When they go into these, as you can tell, as you can tell right there, they hit right there. So I'd have to just bend that off, but instead of cutting it or bending it off, I'm just gonna take these, swap them out for these. They're fine. I just gotta clean them up, and then they'll work perfectly fine. All right, so here we are. I'm gonna take this bracket and bolt it down, and then on these particular brake pads, this little tab up here, or brace or whatever, this one's gonna go on the inside, and that little bracket piece is gonna go up. And then the other pad is upside down, and it's gonna go in here like such. And then that's gonna make it easier for you to put the actual caliper knuckle on top. All right, and there you go. It's in between there. I actually had to take a file because these were kind of down a little too far, the way that, you know, you got like this little shit whenever they cast this. Anyway, had to take a file so that would actually fit in there. These are your copper crush washers. You want one on the inside and on the outside, and then you'll crank that down whenever you actually get it on there. So also, whenever you're redoing pads, on a lot of cars, they make it easy where you can this just comes off. You only have to loosen that one, take that one completely off, and it just falls off. Take those out, put the new ones in, and then this literally just goes up on there, and then you just put that one in there, crank those two down, we'll crank that down, we'll put that on there, and then we'll bleed brakes. All right, so we got that on. One thing I didn't notice on the other side that I noticed on this side, so as you can see, there's a flat piece on the top and bottom of these, and if you can see, there are these two brackets back here. So whenever you're putting that through, you basically just gotta kind of finagle it in there to where it gets in between those brackets. That way you can just crank that down into there instead of holding a pair of pliers on there like I was doing on the other one, like an idiot. All right, so it's on there like that. This is that clip. You want to make sure that it's facing like this. This part right here is going to be needed to face out like that, so it'll create pressure to pull that out, and then you can crank that down. All right, we got it back on. One other thing, I would actually suggest trying to thread this into your soft line. Thread your hard line into your soft line before putting it through there and putting that clip on, because sometimes they don't like to meet up exact, and you end up cross-threading, and you do not want to cross-thread that. You'll get leaks. But yeah, snug that down, and yeah, then we're gonna bleed our brakes. And if you're bleeding brakes, if you're doing all brakes, you want to do furthest away from the steering wheel, all the way closest. So you'd want to go bam, 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 is how you want to do it. You want to do it the furthest away that way, and then the furthest, and then back, because the front's closer to the front. All right, so when bleeding brakes is fairly easy, pretty straightforward. This is the nipple right here. You're gonna want to put some kind of hose line on it, and some kind of receptacle. This is a really old gas tank that's got super old gas in it, so I'm just gonna dump it into there. But you would have somebody, ideally you would have somebody in the car, and they would press down on the brakes. You would say down, they'll put the brakes down, they'll tell you down. Then you open this up, brake fluid will bleed out, then you'll close it, you'll tell them up, they say up, they're lifting off the brakes, say down, they push down again, that's pushing more fluid in, then you would open that up again, let it, and just so on and so forth until you see no more bubbles coming through here. But since I'm the only person here today, I'm gonna have to crack that open and then just go in there and stomp on the brakes a lot until I come up here and don't see any bubbles. So we're gonna do that. What's up? It is the next day, and I got my pads and rotors in, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue with this. Pads and rotors are super easy. So you just want to take your caliper off, and then your rotor usually just kind of just comes straight off. This one I might have to kind of hit a little bit to get off of there, but usually there is a screw in either one or both of these. Usually just one. Well, actually I think it's supposed to be in this one. Anyway, that screw, well, here, I'll just show you. This one right there. Okay, so it's got a screw in it. You do not need to put that screw back there unless you just for some reason want to. That screw is just there during assembly. They put it on so that it doesn't fall off whenever it's going down the line and they're putting all this stuff on, so you don't have to put that back on. But anyway, we're gonna pull that rotor off. I got brand new rotors and pads and new hardware for the pads to slide across upon. Anyway, I'm gonna do that. So, new rotors. These ones don't look like they are, but that's just dirt. Usually they will come coated with either some sort of an oil, or almost looks like a silver paint on them. I've had that. And you're just gonna want to take some, brake cleaner, clean that off, wipe it down and everything on both sides, because you don't want any kind of oil on there. Otherwise, your brakes won't work. Alright, so we got the new rotors, new pads on, all the mating surfaces, got anti-seize on them. You're going to have to push this piston back unless you got a brand new one. I got anti-seize on there on that mating surface. We're just going to put this back on there. And see, your caliper bracket is holding this in almost all the way, and then whenever you put your wheel on there, torque those lugs down, it'll hold this completely in place. Alright, got the caliper back on. All I got to do is just put the tire on and then go do the other side. I forgot to do an ending to that video, but yeah, I bled the brakes not well. I found out later that if you are replacing calipers, that you need to, if you're redoing your calipers and brake lines, you're letting too much air into your lines, and you're going to want to do the back and front. So yeah, they were a lot better than they were, but they were still really, the pedal was really squishy, but way better, and it just glides now. But next video, I'll be getting into some suspension work and back brakes.